Good evening, everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching a very special edition of Battle for Bharat. On CNN News 18, we've been bringing you conversations from across the country, going to major cities, metros, and more to understand what is it that the citizens really want. When they vote for a national general election, what is on top of their minds? You're watching the Citizens Manifesto special from our very own national capital, New Delhi. And we're, of course, seated right next to the seat of power in the national capital. This is where the government truly functions from. And, of course, a new parliament has been inaugurated just recently. So what is it that people genuinely expect from their parliamentarians is what we will talk over the next hour. Let me introduce our amazing panel here today, starting from the very other side from me. Nasir Abdullah, actor, is joining us. Dilip Chinoy, Chairman, Bharat Web3 Association and former Secretary General FICCI. Next to him is Kishwar Desai, columnist and author. Neena Rai, author, is also joining us. And last but not the least, right next to me is Shiv Khera, noted author and activist. Shiv Khera, should I begin with you?
Your choice.
Okay. So what is it that is top of your minds as we are in the heat of the elections, no pun intended for the heat all across the country as well. But what is it that really comes to your mind first up as a citizen when you think of the general elections?
Well, my take is, since we are in the middle of the election right now, people are looking for a strong, stable government. They are looking for it. But at the same time, a good government also needs a good, strong opposition, which is lacking today. The way it is missing today. So therefore, a lot of times people are a little confused. What to do? Where do I go? Who do I vote for? And so on.
Because there is no strong opposition, you're saying?
One strong opposition. And many times, parties, people who are shouting at each other, who are abusing each other, they've come and joined each other today.
Yeah.
People have left their party. A person who was called a criminal before now is in this party, and a criminal from this party has gone their party. So what is it now? Which criminal do you vote for? That is the sad part. Therefore, I have filed a petition which was only happened last week on Nota, and the Supreme Court has admitted it and sent a notice to the Election Commission that none of the above should be given a choice. Because none of the above, Nota should be treated as a candidate. Why? Because today, supposing 90% people vote for Nota, it doesn't mean a thing. One person wins. Anybody got a 1% vote. So what we are saying is, Nota should be treated as a candidate. Why? In the previous parliament, 50% of the candidates had criminal records.
But what do you do when there's nobody representing you?
Coming. You see, 50%. Now, is that the kind of parliament you want? Now, people have two choices. Either abstain, don't go to vote. Now, that's called passive protest. You don't go to vote, you're not a good citizen. But if you do go to vote, who do you vote for? So what do? They either vote for caste or they vote for the weakest criminal, Shivani. Now, weakest criminal wins. He's got power. Now he becomes the strongest criminal. Tell me, is this democracy? Does he represent you? Did you want him to win? This is the biggest joke and mockery of democracy.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, just one quick minute, that Nota should be treated as a candidate in case Nota wins. Then all candidates from that one constituency for that one election should be disqualified.
Right.
And it'll open the doors for good people to come in, and it'll force the political parties to field good candidates. Otherwise, they know they will be thrown out and rejected.
Okay, that's a very, very dramatic and radical thought on which we have started our show. Let me go across to the other side as well. Nasir Abdullah, you agree with the kind of disillusionment that Shiv Khera is talking about, or do you think this is a little bit more complex than that?
Okay, I agree about his observation about there being the need for a strong opposition. Totally, 100%. The other stuff I am not thinking so much of because I have some other issues in my head. And I was really thinking that it's important to set the record straight with the people of India. What do they need? What are the real requirements? We've been through a lot. We have problems and they need to be attended to. But I think often enough we go into other issues which might be based on the religious aspects and all that, and that sort of actually confuses it all. The state of the poverty that is still there, we don't see it because we don't. I know it is there. I see it as I walk out of my house.
You may
through
not
the lane.
personally experience it, but you're very aware of it.
I am very much so, and I know it is there, but unfortunately, most of us who are very reasonably comfortable don't really care. Don't really care. We know, but we sort of put it on the side because we've got issues about our own lives, etc., etc. But I would like to see, I mean, for example, I'm thinking like this. India is a strange country. It seems, I mean, it's been ruled by outsiders all along, most of it. And it was ruled by an Italian lady for 10 years. I mean, it would never happen anywhere else. It's a strange country. It's a beautiful country. It has a lot of goodness in it. Amazing country, and everybody knows that. And the people outside. But here's my deal. I think anybody can rule India. By that, I don't mean a nincompoop. What I'm saying is, supposing it is Rahul Gandhi, they say, oh, what will he do? He's a no-brainer. I say once the responsibility is actually thrust upon you, you will do the needful. You will do the needful. And he has the Congress party with him. It won't be that he has to take out a spade and start to dig to show that he's working.
Interestingly, you say that. You've named Rahul Gandhi, but does he want to be the PM? Why doesn't he then say openly that, okay, I'm the prime ministerial candidate? Why should people have to assume it?
I'll tell you, he may not have actually said it. I'm sure he wants to be. I'm sure his mom wanted him to be all along. And I also wonder, it is possible that he may do a great job because he has the Congress party with him who has the experience of ruling the country for over half a century.
But he needs to make a pitch for it, no, Nasir? This is not something that we need to give to him. He has to make a pitch for it.
He has to, and he may at a later stage. At this stage, he's a no-brainer. He has been for a long time. Now he seems to have gained the respect. So here is what I'm thinking. It is possible that he may deliver.
Dilip, I want to ask you, poverty alleviation, the last 10 years, Narendra Modi government would say this is exactly what they've been focusing on. They have talked about how 13 crore people have been brought out of extreme poverty in the last 10 years. They've, of course, been a very socialist government, a very welfareism government, taking care of the poor first and foremost. How would you rate the last 10 years on that parameter?
And what actually happened when this government first came into power, they had a very clear vision of empowerment, not empowering people, not giving them doles, right? So it started well that way, but then during the COVID time, where there was a huge challenge and a lot of people's lives were disrupted, and you had to look at, so the free food grain program came out that time. If you recall, this government had a different view of Manrega.
Yeah.
But now Manrega has been in a long it's been bought back, and the expenditure has actually bought in. So I think while they're looking at, rather than looking at a dole, they're looking at empowering the people. Second, if there is a need, and there are a lot of villages which are uneconomically viable and a lot of sections of society, they're trying to support them. But the idea of the support is to enable them to stand on their feet a bit longer. And, in the long term, reduce the dependence on the budget. Even if you take the pension, right? That's a very different step that they took, because a minority of people were getting pension, but the impact of the pension on the budget was disproportionately large, and was, money was going into that rather than used for any useful purpose.
So you're talking about the OPS versus the EPS system, right? The old pension scheme.
The old pension scheme, one rank, one pay, one pension. A lot of things are happening. So, the whole economic, or the way that we were dealing was very fragmented. What they've tried to do in the last 10 years is try and get it all together and make it uniform, and make no discrimination amongst the different types of people there.
Yeah.
But going forward, we need to address the agricultural issue, we need to address the land issue, we need to address the climate issue.
Yeah.
And we
Labor
need-
laws.
Labor laws, they actually did the whole,
Yeah.
codes, four codes, but the states have not implemented
Yeah.
it. So that's a big thing because, in the concurrent list, a lot of, whether education, health, labor, they're all in the concurrent list. So in this thing, they talked about cooperative federalism and competitive federalism. I think going forward, they will have to find a way to get the states to work together so that the lives of the citizens are better.
Since Nasir mentioned Rahul Gandhi, why not give him a chance? The one thing, Kishwarji, that Rahul Gandhi is talking about is distribution of wealth or caste census, wealth to be more equitably distributed. How they're going to achieve that is the big bone of contention. He's talking about reservations to be increased in the country above the 50% quota. If economic issues is what, people were going to vote for, how do you look at this debate that is going on?
Thank you, Shivani. I think there are a couple of things I just want to bring up before we get into the economic quotas and things like that, which Rahul has brought up. And I also agree that we require a strong opposition. I think Rahul's long-term strategies, he's a young guy, he can afford to wait another 10 years before he gets his chance. So let's not even go there because we don't even know what's going to happen to this country in 10 years' time, where we'll be. We are supposed to be this superpower which will be emerging. But I want to also flag another very important thing which we need to place on the agenda, which is women's rights and the economic empowerment. When you spoke about empowerment, and I think that is very, very important. And that is something that Mr. Modi has done very, very consciously, right from his first address at Red Fort, which I'll never forget, when he spoke about toilets. Now, even people in Delhi, just women in Delhi, I remember that we used to have workers who would come to our house and they were desperate to find on their way to work a toilet that they could visit, women workers, because as you know, men can always stand against a wall and whatever. So this was something that was very important to give them some dignity, to give them that empowerment, to make them feel like citizens of this country. Because for far too long, women have been made to feel like second-class citizens in many ways. And I think Modi ji has recognized it, and thanks to him, the opposition has also begun to recognize that women's power, especially voting power, is a very strong part of today's India. They can change this country completely if they so wish. And I think that is what we're seeing. That is the current change. And that is a change we are also seeing in Delhi. To come back to Rahul, I think he has recognized this. So a lot of the parties, what are they doing? They are following this cash transfer schemes. And so, हम औरतों को कोई बोल रहा है 1,000 देंगे, then somebody will say हम 10,000 देंगे, फिर हम बोलेंगे, and I think the Congress is saying
1 lakh a year.
1 lakh a year. And then, so it becomes more and more of a competitive bid. How do I buy your vote? How are they going to pay for this? Nobody knows. Because that is an open question. We have not seen it in any budget so far, that huge amounts of money like this have been just bandied around. So where is it going to come from? So the woman is a smart voter. I don't think in this election it would be foolish to think that just by bribing her, कि हम ये दे देंगे, वो दे देंगे, it's going to work. It is not going to work because they have seen. See, the mistake that Rahul makes again and again, he doesn't realize you have 5 years to prepare for the election. Modi ji acts like this is an examination which he has to pass. He's like frantically working day and night. Whereas Rahul acts like मैंने तो pass कर ही लिया. मुझे करने की ज़रूरत ही नहीं है कुछ. So he should have been prepared. He should have been inundating us with ideas and,
For all
sort
of those 5 years,
for
not
5
just
years.
for the 5 months of election campaign.
Exactly, because I find as a woman those ads very confusing. I mean, I'm literate. I'm an author. I write. I run 2 museums. I do a lot of stuff out there. पर मुझे कुछ समझ ही नहीं आ रहा वो ads क्या कर रही हैं कि इलेक्शन के बाद आपको नौकरी मिल जाएगी, इलेक्शन के बाद आपको 1 लाख रुपए बैंक में मिल जाएगा. कहाँ से कैसे? आपने अभी तक तो हमें कुछ बताया. What's the plan? Buddy, tell us the plan. I think this is where we completely are losing out.
I think the voters have anyways established that they vote a little bit differently when it comes to state elections and national elections. And they would, some say they like to have laddu in both their hands. So state government से भी लेते हैं और central government से भी लेते हैं. तो जिसकी scheme ज़्यादा अच्छी लगती है, वैसे वो vote करते हैं. What do you think? First of all, tell me the difference in your mindset when you're voting for state or national. Is there a difference in your mind?
Yes, I think that you said it correctly. The Indian voter is very wise and to a large extent even foolhardy. Why? Because whenever these freebie schemes come, they fall in the trap of these freebie schemes. They want to go for it. I remember when Kejriwal came to Delhi, he said free bus rides for women, right? So what happened? So now the women, the ladies who come to work, so those who travel around, they say, Mem Saab, in the bus, only the Jeb Katris have a free ride. And the bus doesn't stop for us women. So this is what happens when you dole out freebies. Now they are swearing off voting for Aam Aadmi Party. So this is one part that I want to say that a lot of times that I've noticed that the people of voters of India are quite foolhardy and to a large extent quite in for free lunches, and we know that there are no free lunches, number one. Second thing is that we have people like, the terrible oppositions we have. I mean, what are they saying? They want to become another Venezuela. Do you know, I mean, all the freebie schemes that they're offering, I don't know if anybody of you knows about Venezuela as well. In Venezuela, if a person is dying of starvation, the doctors cannot write that they're dying of starvation. I mean, it's like one of the biggest slums are in Venezuela. It's a terrible country. Nobody, and please read up history, read up economics. You cannot steal from the rich, give it to the poor, and expect the poor to be rich. It doesn't happen. It has never happened, and it will never happen.
Rahul Gandhi now says कि हम आपके July 1st से आपके account में पैसे आने शुरू हो जाएंगे और इस तरह से हम गरीबी हटा देंगे. Since poverty alleviation was mentioned, is this the way of alleviating poverty?
So this is very silly. This shows this man's ignorance to economics. This is only going to increase inflation and not alleviate poverty. I mean, this is the basic of economics. I hope somebody educates him on this. And another thing is I keep hearing, like the lady also said, he's a young man. No, he's not a young man. In a few years, this man is going to be a senior citizen. I am a middle-aged woman. I am 40 plus. That man is 10, 15.
Young by political
No, it is not even young by political standards. He's going to be a senior citizen. Just a few years, I am a middle-aged woman. I'm 40 plus. That man is even 10 years, 15 years older to me. Yeah, he's 52 years old. In a few years, he's going to be a senior citizen. भाई आपकी दाढ़ी भी सफेद हो चुकी है अब आप रहने दीजिए नहीं हो पाएगा आपसे. I mean, this is as honest. I mean, look at them. Everybody's laughing. You can't, if a student fails so many times, it is better he drops out of school. This is... But this man is still not dropping out of elections. Come on. You must know people who failed once or twice. They left school, they didn't leave school. They left, no? But this man is still going on for it. भाई किसके लिए? And I feel pity for Congress. आपके पास कोई नेता नहीं है. बात करते हैं पॉवर्टी की कि इतनी हम पॉवर्टी में कौन रहा इतने सालों तक? मोदी तो अभी 10 साल तक ही आए हैं. तो कौन था? बताओ क्या कर लिया? क्यों है 50% से नीचे हमारी आबादी? अब कह रहा है कि हम 1 लाख रुपए देंगे. भाई आपके पास 75 years थे. क्यों नहीं उखाड़ा आपने? अब आप कह रहे हैं हम 1 लाख रुपए देंगे. हमें बेवकूफ समझ रखा है क्या? I mean, I understand. We are not stupid people. And what did they do? We had such a big and a beautiful country. They divided it into 3 parts. 3. Bangladesh, India and Pakistan. They allowed it. अब कोई बोलेगा हमें सियाचिन ग्लेशियर चाहिए तो उनको दे दो. ये चाहिए खालिस्तान चाहिए तो उनको दे दो. Please never ever vote for any of these people. They are untrustworthy. Any anti-national person, never vote for them. Anybody pro-Khalistan, anybody who's going to divide India on these things, never vote for them.
So you are saying these are the issues that matter to you. National
Yes.
security, territorial
Yes.
integrity,
Yes.
what are you offering as far as the economics of the country is concerned? But I come back to my fundamental question. If you are to vote in a national election, are you voting to elect the Prime Minister or are you voting to elect your local MP?
What Modi has done so far, one is getting rid of 370. Amazing job what he did. Number one. Number two, before BJP came in or BJP or Modi came in, 85% of the money that used to go to the poor used to go into the hands
Middlemen.
of people. It never reached there. So today you have almost 1 crore bank accounts today. Money goes straight to that person.
You know the bank accounts that Rahul Gandhi wants to use to transfer money into people's accounts? Somebody should ask, where did those bank accounts come from?
So it is a very big thing. What has happened is that people are getting money directly into their account to the right person. Given gas cylinders out, and as Ms. Desai mentioned, giving toilets to 1.5 to 2 crore people, he has given dignity to the whole nation right here, which was missing, and these people never even bothered about it.
It's clear that when a lot of the public looks at the national government, they don't necessarily just look at roti kapda makan, although that is part of their deliverables as well, and the government will say that they've done that. But there are larger issues that you expect your government to deliver on. Does the opposition appear strong on issues of national security, territorial integrity? Look at their stance on CA, look at their stance on 370, look at their stance on, NRC, for example, which will determine who your citizens are, etc. What do you make of those issues dominating the discourse? And I know that you brought out the religious issue as well, and I'll take that across to our panel as well. Should that count or not count? But issues of national importance and territory and integrity.
There are two things I wanted to specify before I'd like to come here. One is that about the Aam Aadmi Party, Arvind Kejriwal, whatever he did, freebies and all. So you always will have somebody opposing it. There was a lot of opposition. There was opposition about the various whatever steps he also happened to take about the pollution thingy, which was that odd and even thing, which is a trusted and tried exercise to eradicate the pollution. It's a known fact.
Is it?
It is, because I was in France when it happened once.
France is not India.
No.
Nasir.
Who is saying it is not India? I'm not saying it is India. Why are you putting words into my mouth? I said it has been tried in Europe because things went up so hard, they had to do it. So there were people, they tried it. You can't just say, no, it won't work. It has been tried. It seems to work. That is why it was tried about 15 years ago. But that's still not the point. If he's offering freebies, what is your problem? What is your problem? You are jealous? You shouldn't be jealous. Poor people are happy to have a freebie. They have started accusing the Congress party of being anti-national and working against the interests of India and siding with the enemy. And I find that I think, am I on Mars? I mean, how could anybody do that? I mean, actually openly thinking, oh, we want to do this against India. Why would they do it? At best, you can call them ignorant, lazy. They made a mistake. They make mistakes. Everybody makes whatever mistakes. But to accuse them of being anti-national and being with the terrorists and being this and Naxal prona, they're saying all these things, which I find very reprehensible.
Now, how important do you think religion is? Should the public be voting on that? I know that technically you're not allowed to ask for vote on your religious identity or on the voter's religious identity, but religion plays a very important role in people's lives. So people do vote on religious lines.
So before I talk about voting on religious lines, just take a look. On the stage itself, there is ash. Where is this ash coming from? This is called Pirali burning. I picked it up, one of that, and my finger is totally black. When I wake up in the morning, go to my roof, there is Pirali, there's burnt stuff all over. And having things like odd and even is not going to solve this situation. 68 lakhs was spent on trying to solve this, ghas ka issue, or the parali ka issue, and the advertising was like for 63 crores. This is what the Aam Aadmi Party did. Why hasn't the Delhi pollution problem been sorted till now? Why is Pirali still burning? It is in front of our eyes. Are we blind to all of this? It is falling on stage. I picked it up. My hand is black. So
And now they have a government in Punjab too.
Yeah, and now they have it. Nothing's happening. It's only gotten worse. I mean, every day you wake up, people are sneezing, people are having lung cancer, people are having all sorts of things thanks to all of this. This still hasn't been sorted. And the other thing that you said about religious issues, now, nobody had a problem till the time Congress, Sapa, or Baspa, or TMC was going to mosques and asking for votes. Nobody had a problem. Yeah? People have a problem when the BJP says Ram Mandir. Why is that? Why is it that the Hindus are being treated as fourth grade citizens? Please understand, there are 5 types of ruling in the world. Democracy is just one of them. Like, for example, there's democracy, there are loads of them. And we followed the Western concept. So I'm talking about the Western concept. There are many, like, there are kingdoms, there are all of this, right? So democracy is rule of majority. But here, the majority is being trampled upon all the time. When the pastor in the church says, you will vote for this party, nobody raises an eyebrow. When the Maulvi says, you will vote for this guy, nobody raises an eyebrow. When freebies are given to Maulanas out of our pocket money, nobody has a problem. Why is it that the AAP is funding the Maulanas or Maulvis of Delhi? Have the same money been given to the Pandits? Is it equality? Why is it not equality? They are taking the money out of our temples and giving it to everybody else, especially other religions. Why doesn't anybody have a problem with that? Why is that not a cause of concern for the Hindus? Why is that not a voting thing? It has to be. And so, no, I haven't completed. I just want to say, I agree with, because of what has been happening in these years, I agree with Modi's philosophy that says, Vikas bhi, विरासत भी. विरासत में हमें क्या मिला है? हिंदुओं को क्या मिला है? इंडिया को क्या मिला है? Why only Hindus? ठीक है, हमारे मंदिर मिले हैं, हमें अपना कल्चर मिला है. ये इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है क्या? राम मंदिर हमारे लिए इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं था क्या? हम सबके लिए राम मंदिर इम्पोर्टेंट था, तभी हमने उनके लिए वोट किया. I remember I used to live in Dubai. I gave up living in Dubai. I came to India because of one thing, Ram Mandir, and I campaigned for Modi. For this reason.
How should Indian democracy work when it comes to certain contentious issues like religion? Because it's supposed to be secular, which means you're not supposed to be involved in religion at all. But Indian state has always been involved in religion. And then we come to the discussion of whether secularism in India has become warped or it's become pseudo-secularism. Do you think that issue matters to you when you're choosing your national government? I do want to highlight, though, that there have been some controversial statements made, or people have said that the statements made by the Prime Minister have been controversial. In a secular state like India, those comments should not come from an incumbent Prime Minister or from a prospective Prime Minister.
No, I completely disagree. I don't think those statements, though, of course, if it comes from the AC, then it's a different matter. Yeah. But if it is just the media commenting or people commenting that he should not talk about his own religion or any other, or set up a Ram temple, as many said, was electoral gambit, I totally disagree on that. Because I do believe that these are our own heritage issues which we have neglected for many years. For example, because I work on the partition of India and I've set up 2 museums related to the partition of India, I've just done research on all the mandirs which were left behind in Pakistan, and there are thousands of them. And it is so surprising for me that many of them, we don't know this, that many of them are devoted to Ram, many of those mandirs, because that part of the country which is now left behind in Pakistan was sun worshipping. They used to, in Multan, they used to be the biggest sun temple ever. And it was the richest temple because it had a golden idol there, which all the invaders used to try and attack. And so we have already lost a lot of our heritage through what happened in 1947. We lost a lot of our cultural roots and links, whether you were Muslim, whether you were Hindu, whether you were Sikh, everybody got impacted. But yes, the Hindus got even more impacted because it was not a subject that was ever talked about. So where I appreciate Mr. Modi a lot is that he is finally putting that silent subject on the table, that Hindus did lose during the partition. They did lose their culture. They did lose their heritage. And I'm glad to see that the young people here agree with that, because it is part of our history and we should not neglect it. But that does not mean that we should also demonize the other, that we should call the other people who were critical. Listen, in a democracy, we must appreciate the counterfactual. We must appreciate contrary opinions.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we must also know that most of the world's democracies do have religion in the heart of it. I live a lot of the time in the UK. Do you know that there are actually church leaders who actually sit
In the parliament.
parliament? They sit in parliament.
Their
would
seats are reserved.
So yeah, their seats are reserved. So would you find that everybody would go up in arms if we suddenly saw 5 pandits or sadhus or something sitting in parliament? They would like, oh my God, what's going on?
We are
But
more
this is-
secular than the true secularists in French
so
and UK.
this is a tradition, and as we know that when the Iraq war was fought, a lot of it was fought on religious grounds. If you remember those images of Tony Blair getting onto his knees with the US president and praying that they should be able to overcome, whatever is happening there. So they're Christian. These are Christian nations, and let's not make any bones about it. But we have often been under scrutiny from the West, because the West used to divide and rule us. So these are old kind of things which we carry with us. It's a kind of baggage we carry with us even till today, that if you talk about the Hindus, oh my God, there's going to be some problem. So I
that
appreciate
majoritarianism
Yeah.
is a bad word,
Yeah.
and there was a certain level of apologia attached to
Yeah.
Hindus, that don't be overt with your identity,
Yes.
and don't express yourself. To live in peace and harmony, you must subdue your religious identity.
So that's what I'm saying, Shivani.
And,
and-
unfortunately, an exceptionalism was created for the other side,
Yes.
where the same benchmarks didn't apply for everybody.
it was
either apply
yeah.
it for everybody or
Yeah.
don't apply it for anybody.
Yeah. So, and that was termed secularism. But I do want to say one last thing regarding this. Is this actually going to convert into votes? And is it going to encourage people to go out there and vote? Yes, it will. Because somebody who does encourage your astha, encourages your faith, allows you to talk about your your principles that you hold dear. And believe me, religion is often it teaches you the right path.
Yeah,
You
sure.
know, so it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing for young people. If you can believe in Guru Nanak, you can believe in Ram, you can believe in Christ, but all the religions ultimately say the same thing. So what he's done is actually awakened that astha in a lot of people, and it will turn into a vote.
I have limited
I think.
time. I want to give the audiences a few opportunities as well. So if you have some questions, please prepare them. We'll take 2 or 3 of them. Mr. Khera, you wanted to come in very quickly. Then I'll give
Yes,
Dilip Chinoy the last word.
I do want to mention something, especially India is one country where the majority community feels insecure in their own country. Yes. Only country in the world where Hindus feel insecure in India itself.
Some say that is because politicians tell you that
wait,
you
wait.
are insecure.
No. You see, the important thing is, Nina made a very important point. We are secular because we are majority Hindus. Show me any country in the world where there is no secularism at all. Now, keep in mind, Pakistan at the time of partition, please bear with me on this, we were 22% Hindus at that time in partition there. And today, how many are there?
2%.
Less than 1%. Yeah. 21% of the country's population is wiped out where? Dead, killed, converted, or kidnapped, packed up. 20%. Show me one country where it's happened like this. And when they were talking that religion is not important, and why do it? Why go into all that stuff? Tell me one thing. 1995, the Congress government created a Waqf Board Act. What is Waqf Board Act? Shivani, if Waqf Board comes in today and they say your property, your house belongs to Waqf Board, you have no recourse, you can't even go to court. Tell me, is this the kind of country you want to live in? Yes, no?
No.
You decide. And then they said religion has no right.
Okay.
What about uniform civil code?
Yeah.
You see, uniform criminal code is acceptable. Then if you want to go by that way, then chop off somebody's hands when they are stealing somewhere. Go let them do it. You see, why should there not be one law here? One man, one woman, you can't marry more than one. And 2, if you have one uniform marriage law, everybody's marriage age should be 18. Why should you be able to allow to marry at 12 and 13 and 14 and 15? Why?
Okay.
It does not make any sense.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when you oppose these kind of reforms that the country has been waiting for a very long time, that are there in the constitution, you know, the one thing the young of this country will agree that everybody's talking about the constitution, which is a good thing. But what does the constitution say? The constitution says that India should have UCC. So what happens to that constitution when it comes to UCC is a question that we must ask. I have final 2 minutes. I'll give that to Dilip sir. Sir, that one issue that you think you will vote for when it comes as a Delhi resident in these national elections, and the one wish you have for the next government.
So I think the first thing, I just want to take 30 seconds to just make a point. You know, a lot has been said about Hindu majority, discrimination, etc. If you look at the track record of this government, all the schemes, all the policies, whatever they've implemented, has started at one end of a village or one end of a thing and gone to the other end without discriminating with anybody inside. Correct. Which is a very unique thing, and I think all voters need to actually understand that. The second, which you specifically asked me about Delhi, you know, Delhi is a complex, kind of a state or a union territory,
Half state.
To govern. Because certain powers are with the state and, certain powers are with the center. And because of the 73rd and 74th Amendment, because you've been talking about the Constitution, a lot of the work that goes into the municipality or the New Delhi Municipal Corp, NDMC or the MCD, and funds are there. The challenge in Delhi is for a citizen, what impacts a citizen Delhi is what is to be developed by the NDMC or the MCD, right? Because whether it's garbage, whether it is water, whether it is roads, whether it is sewage, look at the, Nina was mentioning about the ash, right? But it may be from the garbage dump, which is actually Ghazipur dump, which is burning, which are fine. We don't know about it. So we need a livable city. We need cooperation amongst the center, state, and all the other states. It was mentioned that Punjab is also now ruled by AAP. But for Delhi, you can't have your national capital be ranked as one of the worst cities to live in, etc. And we need to actually work together to solve this. And odd even is not the solution. There are different solutions there. When I was heading SIM, I did the first air quality survey, so there's a thing that needs to be done. So if you look at it in that way, there are different things to be done. But the ease of living, we need to improve the consumption capability or consumption capacity of the common citizen. How can my 1 rupee go more? So I think there has to be a rationalization of the GST to make things simpler for us. We need to manage inflation, right? And we need to say that, we don't create logistics or barriers to logistics which go in increasing prices, which immediately impacts the individual thing. You can't increase prices of certain things and give freebies in the other way, because the net to a household becomes the same. So as a Delhi citizen, we want the 7 MPs and others to work together, use the MP-led funds to ensure that colonies or localities in India get good municipal services, cleanliness. In fact, there was a diplomat who posted very recently on NDMC
about garbage next to the embassy.
So that impacts. Can we make Delhi a permanent mirror of what we did during G20? Very simple. State, municipal, government, everybody work together. Can we make that a permanent thing, but also reduce the pollution levels?
I am a Delhiite, so I would second that. And I think we need to have more pride in the way that we think of our national capital. It needs to be an example for the rest of the country. One wish for the next government? Yes, Nasir, I'm coming to you. Any one wish for the next government, if you were to crystallize it? Remember, we're talking about a national government.
Yeah, so I think it's very important that we move away from a 5-year cycle.
Yeah.
And therefore, Prime Minister Modi about a Viksit Bharat by 2047 and looking at a 100-day agenda, 2030 agenda, 2037, 40 agenda is very important, because it means that if we are Viksit, everybody who's watching this program and everybody who's here, their per capita income will actually quadruple over the next few years. That means your capacity to buy, your capacity to go for holidays, do whatever it is, increases. So just focus on growth and focus on making life simple for citizens.
Yeah. I think I get a sense that economic strengthening, national security, and pride in who we are. These are the three big themes I'm realizing are coming out. I want to give some time, two questions to our audiences. Yes, the girl in the yellow. Yes, please go ahead. And please, can we get a mic to her? Keep your questions short, I would request, and please direct them to who you want to ask them.
Yeah, as Sir mentioned, that Nota should be treated as a candidate vote and the solution he has presented. But don't you think it will make things more complicated as it is more time consuming and it could also vacuum the topmost position in our system? What is your take on that?
Okay, thanks a lot. See, when Nota is treated as a candidate and Nota wins, then all these candidates would be disqualified from that one constituency for that one election. Now, you cannot have a vacuum. Law is clear. Within 30 days, I believe, you have to have a new election. And when you have a new election only in that constituency, it will open the doors for good people to come in and step in. And it will also force the political parties to field good candidates. And unless you have that, do you want to have criminals in the parliament? If they are there, will they make good laws for you? Answer is, your biggest problem is right there. And one more thing is, the partly of judiciary. Tell me, if the judiciary had done the job right, till now, do you think you could have even have one candidate, criminal in the parliament? Judiciary has to be straightened out first. That's your biggest problem here.
All right, one more. Yes, sir, the blue shirt. I'll try and give you an opportunity also.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon to good evening to you, sir. My question is for you, Mr. Nasir. That the question is that you have say that Congress party is not an anti-national party, but why they gave a Lok Sabha ticket to a person who raises anti-national slogans like "Afzal hum sharminda hai, tere qatil zinda hai," and "Bharat tere tukde honge, inshallah, inshallah." So what is the reason behind that you give the Lok Sabha seat and support to that type of person?
Good question, because we're talking about Delhi also, and that guy is a candidate from Delhi.
Yes, I'm so glad you asked me the question, because the truth is I don't know the answer, which is fine. But whatever, I mean, it happens a lot. There are so many of them are known to be in the parliament who have a problem with the law and all that. I don't know. But this gives me an opportunity to tell you, sir, and all the others. I had this brilliant idea, and it is, I go to the Mahabharata, where Arjuna decided not to go for an army-like thing and all that, but to have only the support of Lord Krishna. And he had faith in him that he will see him through. So he wanted him as the charioteer. So I just had a thought. That maybe when all of you actually cast your vote, you actually believe in God and say, guide me to cast the vote in the right human being. Nothing wrong with that. I know you are thinking God is only limited up to that. But because you don't really know yourselves who's really up to it, leave it to God and he will do it for you. It's an idea.
Okay.
It's an idea.
Okay.
I want to answer.
Yeah, very quickly, Dina, very quickly.
Do the Gayatri Mantra.
I just want to
right.
correct you.
No. Chant the Gayatri Mantra before you, and not just very casually, with meaning like, God, help me with this one. And he will help you.
Try that
That's
and tell
my
us who
belief.
you voted for. We'll know who God is telling you to vote for.
So I'll tell you,
Guide you.
Arjun had an army. His army was 7 Ashkahinis strong. Kauravas had an army of 11 Ashkahinis. There were 18 Ashkahani armies. They fought for 18 days and nobody survived. And they went for Krishna because Krishna is the god and the mastermind. He is the best strategist and the best. That is why he was taken.
Okay.
No, but he was the best. And please remember, when the Pandavas fought, they fought for righteousness. They fought for their land. Their land is the most important. What did the Kauravas do? The Kauravas were like the band of brothers. वो जो सांप बिच्छू जो बाढ़ के समय में एक साथ आ जाते हैं, वैसे ही ये लोग लड़े थे और हारे थे. और हर टाइम इंडिया में भी यही होता है. गठबंधन बंधन के नाम पे सारे ठग ठग बंधन करते हैं.
All right. I've run out of time. Thank you, our audiences, for bringing your questions, and of course to our lovely panel. Spirited debate here, which has gone a little bit deeper into the issues that people should think about, not just about Rotary Kapda Makan and more, even though that is very important as far as the public in India is concerned. I do thank all of you for joining us. A big thanks to our viewers for watching. Keep watching CNN News 18. We'll keep getting you more voices from the citizens of the country.